Welcome to the big show. Today we're going to talk about, does technology improve communication in your service department? And Christian and I get into quite a heated argument about this. It almost goes to blows.
Close.
We talk about the decline of civilization and how the world is ending, really.
Yeah, that's more of a heated discussion.
Yeah. And much, much more coming up on this edition of Service Drive Revolution. I'm so upset.
That was a monstrous exhale that you just did there. Yeah, what's going on?
I don't even know if I should talk about this. It is getting beyond impossible to do business in California.
I couldn't agree
So
more.
Our third employee today had their car stolen right on the side of our building. They stole that car. It's on camera. They stole it so fast you can't even. And the police don't care. Like, nobody cares.
You're just on a list.
In my neighborhood, houses are getting broken into by armed gangs, and the police don't even come. It's like the highest taxes in the country. If you talk about, income tax, business,
Fuel.
sales tax, fuel, everything here is taxed. And there's just it's a complete breakdown of society. And it's almost like you're gaslit, like they make you think you're crazy. Cause when you look around and everybody keeps voting for, it's a one party system here. The Democrats have such a monopoly on everything. The Republicans don't even try to run here. It's nuts.
I think they should be forced to live in these areas with us. And go through what we go through.
It's funny that we buy this building and then interest rates go up, and now the building isn't worth as much because of that. But at the end of the day, we got to get out of here. I don't know what to do. I can't take it much more.
I would like to move.
I don't know how we sell this.
I don't either.
Where do you want to move?
Well, really, I think business-wise, you can't go wrong with Wyoming.
There's no people there, though. I'd go crazy.
Yeah, you would go crazy. I'm just saying business-wise, that would be a great
there's one
place.
restaurant.
Yeah, I think the only place where you have sanity is Dallas.
See, I was thinking Vegas.
Oh, I would go to Vegas.
We could get a casino to give us a space for the library.
That's a really good idea. We should look into that.
And then we're not that far from Washington, the lake in the summer.
Yes. What is that? Probably a 2.5, 3 hour flight.
So 3 of our employees have had their cars stolen.
It's insane.
And nobody was arrested for any of them. Well, the one happened today, so.
Yeah, but it just happened so fast. So she got here at 6:30, and the car was gone by 7:40.
Cops don't come. So you call the cops and tell them you have a stolen car. They tell you have to go down to the station.
Without the vehicle that was stolen, by the way, which makes no sense to me.
Yeah, they don't care. And when somebody's car got stolen, the cops basically knew where the guy was, and they're like, it doesn't matter. They'll let him out the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is how you create a dictatorship, right? Is you create all of this unrest and confusion where people feel like right isn't right anymore and wrong is right, and everybody's ethics and their just up and down, nothing adds up, and people start to think they're crazy. And when you start to think you're crazy, then the dictator steps in and is like, I'll take away all of this.
Yeah,
I'll put structure.
Law and order.
Yeah. But you defund the police to the point where their morale is so low. Nobody of consequence wants to be a cop. Nobody wants to be a school teacher. Nobody wants to do the jobs that holds society together.
Yeah, because they're hard and thankless. I gotta tell you, last night, so I flew in a little bit late, and I don't normally. I would say that 10 o'clock is about as late as I'm out, right? And my flight landed last night at 12:30. And have you been out at 1 in the morning lately?
So there was one time where my buddy was filming something up north in the call. It was like up by Magic Mountain or something.
Oh,
And
all
the
the way up there.
call
Okay.
time was like 5 a.m. and Kosh went with me. I picked him up.
Yep.
So I think it was like 3 in the morning. I went down and he lived downtown, kind of by you. And the amount, like, there was literally just people walking around. They looked like zombies, but there were people laying in the middle of the street.
Yep.
There's
Wandering in the middle of
people
the street.
just shaking, like just standing there
Yep.
shaking. Um, it felt like I told Kosh I would love to go there with a camera and just capture that because it's such an odd thing. Like it's almost impossible to explain because you're talking about homeless, you're talking about anarchy, and you're talking about drugs, like heavy drugs, like
Yeah, they were whacked out of their minds, is what I would say. And the amount of fires is what got me last night. Like it felt super apocalyptic.
yeah.
Like that
Well,
that
because when
whole
it's cold, they just light anything they can on fire.
multiple garbage cans. There was just crap on fire. There was just a fire in the middle of the street, and like literally, you kind of wish you had the Mad Max weapons attached to your vehicle, because I wasn't really comfortable sitting at a red light. There's people like doing the weird zombie wander around and everything like that. So I started blowing lights because I was just done.
You were blowing lights?
hmm
It wouldn't matter. You don't have to.
No, I looked both ways, but then I crossed.
No, what I'm saying, nobody's giving anybody tickets for speeding or lights or.
I would suggest you're probably more likely to get a ticket for that than for all the other crap that we saw.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, right? Like I park my car on the sidewalk here,
I
right in
don't
front of the
blame you.
building, and the every once in a while, the same idiot parking attendant that gives me what do you call them? Parking cops or
Citation or traffic.
will want to lecture me or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I pay my tickets, just give it to me. It's cheaper for me to pay your $60 ticket for parking on the sidewalk than have my catalytic converter stolen or my car window broken, have to go to the dealership. Like, I would rather pay the $65 or whatever it is than deal with any of that. Like,
I think that's the reason they do it, though. They'll give you the ticket because they know you'll pay it. Just like they
yeah,
would give me the ticket for blowing the red light because
that's what
I'll
I
pay
mean.
the
It's
ticket.
everything is backwards. Everything is
Extremely.
backwards. And then what happens is people like me who value law and order end up like you, where, oh, well, I'll blow a stoplight. Oh, like you start to lose perspective on what is okay and not okay because you just have to survive.
Yeah, it seems stupid me to sit at a light and let zombies come up and approach your car.
Yeah.
So I felt like it's a lesser of two evils, and that's what I have to do. So I would welcome a move. As much as I love this place, and I think this library is the coolest place I've ever worked in my entire life.
We can recreate this.
We can recreate
We
this.
can
We can
move
take a lot
this.
of this stuff with us. Yeah.
Yeah, we can move
exactly.
it.
So put in the comments where you'd like us to move.
Vegas, Dallas, Austin,
What about Oklahoma City?
Nashville.
Nashville's kind of neat.
I mean, no disrespect, but you're there's just no way. I'm sorry.
I know. I tried.
I got to be around art and culture and food, and
What about Houston?
Houston's high crime too.
Trying to think of other
It's
places.
also just so hot. Like I don't like the heat.
It is a
like
little
that.
hot there.
Well, we could go to Washington.
Oh yeah. I love it up there. I could see myself living up there.
It's just hard for our clients to come there for a boot camp.
Yeah, but could you imagine the kind of place we could get up there?
Yeah, we could have a pretty nice.
Yes.
We could have our own hotel.
It'd be so fun. Okay.
What's in the news before
So let's change the
I
subject
feel
before
like I
we.
just
This is something that I did not think. I mean, obviously, we've talked about it a lot, that there's a lot of technician jobs available, and this article out of Reuters got me to thinking about something that it's like a duh moment, but I never got it. Like, so the article starts talking about there's a global shortage of technicians specifically related to EV, and I'm like, okay, so what else is new? So it wasn't really that insightful to me until I got halfway through this thing. And believe it or not, there's just as bad a shortage for a different kind of technician, and it's related to the EV. Do you want to guess what it is? If you don't guess it, I think you'll have an aha after I tell you.
tell me.
Um, the electricians that build the chargers.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so there's in the United States there's a shortage of 80,000 electrician jobs to build those things.
Huh.
And I think that's I never thought about that part of it, that there would be that shortage, right? So, um, yeah, there's definitely a skilled labor thing going on.
Yeah. That's the hole in the market. Plumbers, electricians, technicians,
My 11-year-old wants to be an elevator
nurses.
repair person. He's convinced he knows what school he wants to go to and everything. I love the trades.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of respect for that, but I think it's pretty cool that so if you're looking for a career, I think electrician's an amazing career just in general, but they'll keep you busy with chargers for the next 10 or 15 years would be my guess.
You like getting shocked?
Now, personally, I'm not built to be an electrician because I would shock myself regularly, but there are much
Yeah,
more
that's the
careful
thing.
people than me.
I don't like. I did well in electronics in school. Like I did good on the paper book part, but
Yeah.
or not so much when I started playing with it.
Yeah, so I was okay with I mean I'm dating myself a little bit, but the I had classes where like you went to Radio Shack and you built circuit boards and you soldered stuff on and everything
That's
like
what I
that.
mean.
And I actually also enjoyed that part of it. And I never did shock myself badly with any of those things. But I liked the way that all that stuff went together. And that you could make I don't know, to me like that a circuit board makes a computer and the computer does all that stuff like yeah,
Have
you
you
think
ever
about
have you
me.
ever have you ever been on a farm
Yeah,
where
many times.
they use electricity to keep the cattle in place?
Yeah.
Okay, how do those work?
So it's a essentially there's a circuitry where if the cow touches the fence, it shocks them because they close the loop.
Right.
Yeah.
And have you ever peed on one of those?
I've peed on them. I've closed the loop myself, where actually I had a golf club in my hand, and the golf club with the rubber handle, and I'm like, oh, this thing's not on, so I hit the fence with my golf club, and nothing happened. I'm like, see, look, it's not on, and I grabbed it with both
It was
arms.
on.
Yeah, it's cool how your body will move without you telling it to move. I literally flung back a few feet. It was pretty awesome. How about you? You pee on the fence?
So the thing is like sometimes you put a high and a low electric wire, and sometimes a low one will fall on the ground.
Yeah.
So it wasn't on purpose.
So his eye
It
is
was a
hidden on the
complete
ground.
surprise. But it's funny, you or for me at least, you freeze. So
Well,
you're
you have no
getting
choice.
well, really?
I I think it freezes you up.
Like when I've been shocked before, I pull away.
Okay.
But in this scenario, there's like a moment of shock that feels like an hour and a half. It's probably like 3 seconds,
Yeah.
but it feels like a lifetime. And that's what that's my fear of electricity.
So if you
I
wonder
mean,
if,
it's a very random thing, but it does make a lasting impression.
yeah. Oh yeah, getting shocked is crazy.
Yeah, I've been shocked. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all.
It's not very fun. But
I won't even lick a 9 volt.
Okay, I'll do that all day long.
I don't like that
Yeah,
either.
that's funny. Yeah, if you're interested in electrical safety, tune into this next week's episode of Service Drive Revolution, or call 8333 Ask SDR to get registered for the class. That's going to be taught by Chris and I.
That was a joke.
That was a joke, sort of. But yeah, so lots of opportunity. The trades, it's where it's at. You can make a really good living for yourself. Very respectable, helping out society.
Do you have the one thing in the news I sent you?
No, but we can talk about it.
The Tesla has 2 places now where they wrap the cars in any color you want.
Oh, did you see those prices? It's big bucks.
But you pay for that anyways.
Yeah.
Like you can have whenever I have a vehicle wrapped, I wish it was the manufacturer doing it.
Yeah.
Like it's always a second a secondary type aftermarket.
It took them when you got the Rover wrapped, it took them a long time, didn't it?
Well, that's because there was supply chain issues during COVID.
Yeah. I just remember you not having your vehicle for a while.
The next Rover I get, I think I'll just order a factory flat and just wait for it to come.
I like the way that looks.
Yeah.
I think the new Rovers look really good too. I just saw one broke down on the side of the road last week.
Yeah, the thing I love I know my Rover's 3 years old now or whatever, but it's paid for. I love it. It's great. I don't ever feel like I'm missing anything.
It's funny how fast all that time flies, right?
Yeah,
I've
it
had
really
my
is.
car for 2 years.
How many years is the lease?
3.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm really convinced I'm gonna buy that thing. It's got 16,000 miles on it. It's in great shape. I could
Looks
keep that
good.
for a long time.
Tell everybody what it is. It's a
430 convertible,
430 convertible?
BMW.
Midlife crisis car, we call it.
Yeah. And just in a color that I wouldn't normally buy.
Concrete.
Yeah, Brooklyn Gray is what the name of it, but it looks like concrete.
Concrete.
Because I'm more of a blue kind of guy, but I really, really like that car. I love driving it too.
Blue's kind of a trust color.
Oh yeah, my last several cars have been blue.
Can you name another trust color?
White.
White isn't a color, so black and white aren't colors, but
Okay.
that's fine.
Um.
On websites, white is a trust.
Okay. Green.
Yep. Green. Can you name another one?
I want to say yellow.
No, yellow is not a trust
Yellow
color.
is bad.
Yellow is caution.
Caution. Yeah. So pink is the only other one I could come up with.
Pink.
Okay.
A lot of guys, like when they're selling from the stage, will wear pink.
Oh, that's interesting. I always think that you look really good when you wear the pink stuff. I don't feel like I
like
could pull
pink.
it off.
I've always
Yeah.
liked pink. I just think back to the Tesla doing their own vinyl wraps.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that they are doing that, but other manufacturers aren't, and other manufacturers need to do that more than they do?
Well, yeah. So the price point was like 6 to 8 grand, right? And it's so interesting how I think
And what
that
is your cost on that all in? Like,
hundreds at most with including the labor.
yeah, so let's say 500.
Yeah. But I think more important than that is they're controlling the narrative of how everything looks.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of, we're so far off topic, but this is going to kind of come back to you, is I'll never forget the story that you told me about Howard Stern and the picture. Do you remember this story?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So that's what Tesla's doing.
so
they
should
control
we tell
the
everybody the story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I go on the Howard Stern show as the official artist for Beth Stern's Bulldog Rescue charity. So there's a couple that she does, and by the way, Beth Stern is one of the coolest people ever. Like, yeah, just super giving and genuine, and really loves animals. And so I'm I think 2 years in a row I was the official artist for that, and she said, you're gonna go. I went on a bunch of morning shows in New York, and then I went on the Howard Stern show.
So you did a
during the
whole
news.
circuit.
Yeah.
talking about the paintings
I
and
was going on for days. I was on all kinds of shows promoting that and my artwork at the same
yeah.
time. And so I go on Howard Stern. It was interesting because that morning I had met Gary or Baba Booey in Vegas once when I was gambling at the Encore. I had rolled the features, which is you roll every number without rolling a 7. So you roll a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, uh,
8, 9,
8, 9,
10.
10, 11, 12.
Okay.
And I had a lot of money on that bet, and it pays like 105 to 1 or something. Like I won the
Wow.
most money I've ever won. Like huge. But I had a crowd because I only had, well, it's just weird, but I had 11 and 12 left. And then I rolled I think I rolled the 11, and then 2 rolls later, I rolled the 12. And I'd been rolling for like 45 minutes. So I had a crowd. One of the people behind me watching was Gary and John Hine from the show. And Gary walks up to me and he goes, "Man, how did you do that?" And he was kind of asking me about it or whatever. And the next Monday, so this was on a weekend, the next Monday, Gary talked about it on the wrap-up show on his show or whatever. He talked about watching it, the whole thing or whatever. So Beth says, you're going to go on Howard during the news, email Gary, and here's his email. So I had his email, his private email.
Did you make the connection before you met him?
My very first email to him was like, "Hey Gary, Beth told me to email you. By the way, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm the guy in Vegas that rolled the features." But I told him the whole thing right out of the gate. So he says, he emails back and he's like, "Oh, I tell people that story all the time, blah, blah, blah." So I have this like in kind of with him thinking, okay, it's friendly. I got Beth because Howard's intimidating. Also, I'd done a painting for Howard and I was going to give it to him. And that was awkward, too. Because
Was it a portrait of him
as a
bulldog? Yep.
Yeah. And so that morning they're arguing or whatever. And I forget what they were arguing about, but I woke up. I was going on like at 9. So I'm in New York. The show starts at 6 or 7. I forget.
It's really early.
But I turned it on right when I got up and I'm listening to it on my phone. I had Sirius on my phone. And they're arguing, and Howard's like, "I should fire you," and all this stuff. And I was like, "Oh man, like that's crazy." Like, geez.
The timing on your connection.
I get there and they send Ronnie, the limo driver, down to get me. They take me up in a freight elevator. I get there in the green room. They have like a little gift bag for you. Your name's on the like, it's a big production, a big show, and they know what they're doing. So Gary comes in. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And I expected him to kind of be sad,
Yeah.
And he goes, "You want to meet Howard?" And he takes me in, and Howard's like, "Oh, Beth told me all about you, blah, blah, blah." And so that I'm there. Funny story, because I had my little brother with me. That's a whole funny story of what happened or whatever. But then at the end, we're standing around Howard. So it's like, everybody's kind of huddled around Howard. The show's over. And Howard goes to stand up to, he's going to leave or whatever. And I said, "Hey, Howard, before you go, would you mind if I get a picture?" And he goes, "Oh," and he does this big sigh, like, "Oh." And I was like, "Oh man, did I mess up or whatever?" And then, and I'm holding my phone or whatever, right? And then he walks over and I didn't notice there's a mirror behind him. So he fixes his hair. Then Gary takes my phone. And there's a marker on the floor. They put me at that marker. Howard stands next to me. Gary pulls a box out from behind the wall and stands on the box and takes the picture, looks at the picture, and then hands me my phone. Howard controlled the angle. He's coming down with the God shot, right? Like that shot where Gary's higher in the air, coming down looks better. So it's a God shot. Howard standing in the exact position with the angle. He controlled everything.
Yes.
For a picture on my cell phone.
If you're that intentional about that, what else are you?
Think about how many people you're like, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And it's just like a selfie like this. Like, no big deal. Not Howard. Only Gary could take it. It wasn't this. Like, I thought we would just do this. No. He doesn't want a picture out there that he didn't control and he hasn't okayed.
It's one of my favorite stories, and the reason that I had you tell that is because it goes into our conversation, and it's about communication with clients, and what the heck are we doing sometimes?
Yeah.
So
the question is, does technology improve communication?
Yeah.
Does technology improve communication? Let's just go through the different types of communication, because when I was a service advisor, there really were only
one, if not maybe three, if you include the in-person, right?
So you have a phone.
Yep.
You have in-person. And then you have night drops. I don't know if you
I was thinking back then, like email. You'd have occasionally someone would say, "Send me an email."
Bro,
even back in the 90s.
This is how old I am. There was no email.
Okay, so phone, or they were there.
When I started writing service, we still would handwrite sometimes.
Yeah.
Because Reynolds and Reynolds would go down.
Oh yeah, I've handwritten my fair share.
Half of the advisors there had in that store handwritten. Like we had 3-part handwritten repair. Like it was when the computer went down, you just grabbed it and put it on the clipboard.
Yeah.
Like it was no big deal. No, there was no email. Email was after.
I liked handwriting ROs.
Email probably didn't happen for another 5 years.
Yeah, so it's like late 90s, right? It's probably when email became a little more
but I was an advisor in like 91.
Yeah.
Like in there. So there was no... Nevermind was out. There were a lot of great albums.
Which apparently is classic rock now.
Yeah.
That's hurt my feelings deeply.
But there was no email. So you had night drops. And I do think night drops were a form of communication, because I realized very quickly that advisors would procrastinate on the night drops. They wouldn't call. I don't care if it was 6:30 in the morning. I would call the people and say, "Hey, I got it here. I need you to authorize some money."
And they were, I would say 99 out of 100 times, they're good with it, because they dropped it.
They loved it.
They feel like they're first in line.
And by the way, they're not worried anymore. But if they got a call at 10 o'clock and they don't know.
Yeah, their biggest fear is that the thing is sitting outside and the envelope's still in a box, right?
Right. So you basically had 2, maybe 2.5, right? Now you have texting.
Yep.
You have email.
Yep.
You have video.
Yep.
You have the CRM, which is email, but also a form of communication. You have appointment software that people can make their own appointments.
That's right.
You have the phone, you have in-person, and then you have the manufacturer, where they might be communicating. Like some of the cars now will alert the dealership that it needs a check engine light's on, and then they're trying to call you. That is a form of communication also.
That's right.
And manufacturers call that different things, but the car is communicating in a lot of scenarios now, the data.
Yeah. So on the surface, doesn't that sound like that's much better? It's easier.
No. It sounds like a nightmare.
Why?
Well, I mean, it's a lot like what we do with our business is like, we're launching this leadership thing and we have the library channel now. So now we're growing on YouTube, but now everybody's like, well, why don't you put it on TikTok? And why don't you put it on Instagram? And why don't you put it on Facebook? And why don't you put it on X or Twitter? And it's like, well, each one of those is a different form. It's a different style. And also, like, when you look at a lot of these, can I show you charisma over text?
No.
Most of the time, people misunderstand your intention over text.
That's with people you know.
Can I show you charisma over email? Can I read how you're feeling over email? Unless you're just like, hey, this sucks, I'm unhappy.
Yeah.
But if we're going back and forth on something, could I misread your tone?
Definitely.
Okay. So there's actually, it's more complicated in a lot of ways than just on the phone. I can tell your mood I can tell how I'm affecting you. I can tell if you like what's going on or you don't like what's going on.
If you're interested in what's
I
going
c-
on.
I can amp up, I can smile on the phone and that smile can be contagious to you on the other end. I can show enthusiasm, I can show energy, I can not in a I want to date you way, but I can flirt with you in a sense,
Yeah.
right? You can flirt with a customer and like chat them up and see how they're doing and answer their questions, and you can tell if they feel like something isn't okay or if they get quiet, you can push into that and make sure that they're comfortable with what's going on. And Yeah, I don't know. For me, I would much rather prefer the in person or the phone.
Yeah. So I think that all that stuff was created with the best of intentions, but the thing that it comes back to me, so talking about the 90s, right? So I took my first college class in 1993, and one of those classes was a communications class. And the first day of the first class, um, I was introduced to something called the communication model, which not everybody's ever seen this, but I'm going to explain it. But essentially, you have a sender of a message, you have a receiver of the message, and then you have the message itself, that its job is to make it from the sender to the receiver, right? And the communication happens when the receiver then submits feedback back to the sender. And the thing that stops us, and just imagine it as a circle, right? So the sender sends the message, the receiver gets it, and then gives feedback to the sender that it happened. It's a circle. And the thing that gets in the way is noise. And
Noise.
yep. So noise can be like at the truest form, like if we're saying it's a radio signal, would be the static, right? So it'd be anything that kind of gets in the way of the message either being sent or the feedback being sent. So that's noise. And I believe that although the video and the text, all that stuff were intended to be forms of communication to get the loop, they ended up going into being more noise than message. So I keep thinking about that like that. And the thing that if you want to be the best possible communicator, is just like Howard, you're going to control all the input. And the texting and the video and all the stuff that happens is just one more thing for somebody to manage that's not really good at communication in the first place. So we inundate someone that isn't highly skilled at communication and give them too many things, which just the noise leaks over everything. So I think that's what's happening right now, is that if you're not good at
Yeah.
the phone, you're probably not going to be good at text. If you're not good at keeping in contact with your customers, you're not going to be good at managing the process of how the video goes out and whether or not you call the customer right with the video or you wait or whatever it is. All that stuff just keeps adding extra things. And if there was one way to, if you're going to make all this technology work for you, I think the only way to make it right is what I call proactive versus reactive communication. Is the only way to do it. But it's harder with all that stuff. But it seems like it should be easier.
Yeah, but it's not. And there's more of a chance for noise or miscommunication or misunderstanding, misinterpreting tone, all of that
You
too.
don't receive the feedback.
Yeah. So it's not really a conversation, it's a one-way communication stream.
Yeah. So what do you think is a way to make all that stuff work for you if you're an advisor?
So I think in all of this, the most important thing, and this applies to everything. In fact, there's a section about this in the leadership book, in the sense that I believe that one of the things that makes me better than most at business and fixing systems and understanding things is the fact that my attention naturally gravitates towards the outcome of things, where most people's attention gravitates towards the noise, the friction, the drama, the tension. And they get stuck there, right? And so they get stuck in the symptoms, not the cause. And so in a situation, I'll give you this analogy. We've talked about this before, I think recently. Everybody's going to digital inspections, and there's this
Correct.
company called MPI, and a lot of the manufacturers were trying, because service departments historically are very inefficient. They don't do good inspections. They don't, they're most of the time they don't even have enough product capacity or production to do the work if they offered it, right? And advisors are worried about CSI. It's just all kinds of issues. And so the idea is, well, if we have a digital inspection and we track everything, that's better than nothing in a sense, which is maybe true, really. But we weren't doing nothing, so it wasn't better than what we were doing. But I would get threats and the whole thing, like, you got to put this in, and I'd be like, well, whenever I put it in, the sales go down, and if you guys want to pay me, I'll fix your, I would tell MPI this. I'm like, I'll fix your guys' thing if you want to pay me, but your thing is flawed, like it doesn't. And you're old school, you don't understand, but all the stuff that people do when you don't agree with them or whatever. But the truth of the matter is your sales would go down when you put that in. If you put that in and everybody followed it, your sales would go down. And the reason why so I'm focused on, do my sales go up or do they go down? That's all I care about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is the customer experience better or worse? If it's worse, why am I going to do it? Because everybody else is doing it? Because we love technology? Why? To me, it just doesn't make any sense why I would do something. Why I would spend all that money, disrupt the system, then to have my numbers go down? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Now, the reason why the numbers were going down is because in MPI, the tech would fill it out, parts would put the parts in there. It would email these customers anything that was yellow, that was marginal, which was half of the car. If the car's 4 years old, the belts are marginal. The hoses are marginal. They don't need to be replaced, but they're not perfect. They're not green, but they're not red. But it would send an estimate for everything to a customer. So a customer would get this thing, and they'd be like, there's no way. There's no way I need belts and hoses and this. So you're instantly losing all credibility with them. You can't read them. You're not talking to them or whatever. And then it would put the price on there. And so you'd have all these broken out prices that your brakes are at 20%. It would quote them even though they could go to 15 or whatever it is. And so we would launch these things. The customers would look at it. This is what would happen a lot of times is they would call around and shop. And so then they would find somebody who would do it cheaper. They'd pull their car out. What happens when they get to Joe Schmo service department with this laundry list of stuff and they look at it, and what do they tell the customer?
You didn't need any of that stuff.
Yeah. And so terrible design of the thing. Now, then you get to the point, okay, you can turn off the yellow. It still is you're giving somebody a shopping list and you have no way of selling value. They would have these videos, like, you thought customers were going to click on links and go watch videos on brake fluid. Like, customers don't want that. So now if I tell a customer, hey, the technician has checked it out and there's some things that need to be addressed, call me when you get a chance, and I get them on the phone, do I have a better chance of selling the work they need by getting them on the phone or sending them a random email?
I think it's better if you have to be the tour guide.
Yeah.
To what needs to be done.
And so we're trying to automate everything. And if you are building a relationship with your customers, and I would contend we're in the customer collecting relationship business. That's the purpose of an advisor. Like, if the customer could pull in the shop and talk directly to the tech, we don't need all that added expense, right?
Right.
The advisor is there to endear the customer to us, to make friends, to build trust, and to make the process something that the customer doesn't rank up there with going to the dentist and getting a root canal, which is kind of where we sit, right? And so it's, all of these tools that we add in at the end of the day are only as effective as we design them to be, but most of the time out of the can, they're not that effective. Just like tablets at the car. Like when you get really good at that, your sales go down. Just like having a quick lube. Like we can do an oil change in 45 minutes, but if you just have a bunch of kids that are, I mean, two things happen. One is if you just have a bunch of quick lube techs working together, your turnover there is something like 60%.
65.
So you got kids that are raising their hands saying, I like to work on cars. And we're creating an environment where they don't want to work with us because it's just a bunch of kids. They don't see a career path. They don't see anything.
Right.
So that part of that is broken. And the other part of it is broken is they can't do the work that would be recommended. Customers have to be handed somewhere else. It's just, we create so many issues for ourselves and we're losing track of the outcome. Like, is it a better customer experience doing the quick lube? For a minute. But then the quick lube gets so busy it's not. But for a minute it is. But then are our sales going up? Are the customers coming back?
Not usually.
Not usually.
Yeah. I do think that the one thing I would say that...
Oh, that's funny. You have a logbook?
Yes.
Yeah.
So regardless of how much technology I see in a store, if I go into a service department and I see a service advisor with this... Chris is making fun of me because it's very old school, but
that's how I think.
any sort of a logbook.
The only thing is I want the bigger, we have a bigger one.
Yeah, you like
I like
the
the
one
big.
that takes up the whole desk. I like this one right here. But any sort of a way to keep track, and there's just something to handwriting stuff. I get it that computers do so much and there's route sheets and all that stuff online, but there's something with, at least for me, when I write someone's name on a sheet of paper that I'm going to not forget about them.
Yeah.
And I think that what I would tell you is that I think that as an advisor, let's say we're to, go back and start writing service, I would definitely look at things like the video and the text message as opportunities. I would still track them on this thing, but I would always be ahead. I would always be proactively ahead of the videos and the text messages. And I'm controlling the narrative just like Howard does with the picture. Like everything happens through me. But if I can have a customer see a video that their brakes are worn out or that there's a leak underneath their car, I look at that as just building credibility for me. But it has to go along with the story that I'm telling. It's not the story. So, kind of to your point is at the end of the day, what is it that gets us to where either a better customer experience or we sell more? Preferably both, because your happiest customers spend the most money.
Yeah.
So I think there's a world where you can make all that last, but just start here and get good at this first before you add more stuff in. That's the hardest part is that we add things before we're good at the easy stuff.
Yep. I totally agree. So, I mean, I think we cover this a lot when we talk about tablets and all that, but no, the tech is not improving communication. Who you are is who you are.
You will not magically just be an amazing advisor because you got the text or video feature. You can be an amazing advisor and have those things as tools.
Your biggest lever, the leverage lies in your relationship with your customers and your ability to build trust and make friends.
I agree with that.
You can't just automate it. It's not they're not robots. They're people, and we got to treat them like people.
And you got to make sure you got to establish that feedback loop and make sure they understand.
Okay, post in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube where we should move to. Where would you want to come hang out and talk shop? Let us know.
New York City.
And it's got to be a big city with a major airport, by the way. Not Cleveland.
Sorry for all.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on Service Drive Revolution. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Service Drive Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.